It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. And it's Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve 2020. Man. It's day 4 of our 5-day holiday. We talked a little bit this week about the solstice, of course, and my own personal story as I came of age and became an atheist. I was sort of disappointed and worried that, well, I wouldn't be able to enjoy Christmas like I did as a kid. Otherwise, I'd be a hypocrite. But then I learned the origins of Christmas, and I learned about the solstice, and I learned about how all of the traditions, virtually all of them, have pagan roots, from the Christmas tree to the lights and the return of the sun and gift-giving and carol singing and all of it. All of the things I loved about Christmas had pagan roots. What a wonderful discovery that was. So as an adult, solstice became much more important to me. But then I also had Christmas, which was deeply rooted as a kid. And of course, my parents and their parents and their parents and grandparents all celebrated Christmas. So I had the bright idea to have a 5-day holiday. I thought I'd start my own little tradition. Starts on the 21st and ends on the 25th. So today would be day 4 of that holiday. So light candle number 4 tonight. And oh, that reminds me, a little program note. Tomorrow, in this space, handing the program over to my alter ego, Peter Donalds, and the album Small Town Christmas, which includes the song An Agnostic Christmas that kind of describes what I was just talking about, that journey of discovery regarding solstice and the recapturing of the spirit. It's like, oh, it is mine after all. I don't have to be a hypocrite to celebrate the season. So, yeah, we played that song, I guess, on Monday, right? On the solstice? Yeah. So that's part of the album. We're going to play the whole album tomorrow. So I'm going to step aside in my role as social critic at large, commentator. And for our Christmas episode, we'll just play that Christmas album. Yeah, Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve. I haven't got the stomach to do the regular program today. We spent yesterday talking all about the Orange Menace. Just because it kind of seemed necessary. I couldn't even imagine doing that today. Yeah, Christmas Eve, the whole day really, Christmas Eve day, is in many ways far superior to Christmas Day itself, right? Going back to when you're a kid, it's all about the anticipation. Oh my goodness. But with Christmas Eve day, the final preparations, maybe you're wrapping up a couple of gifts for your family. If you work at all, it's probably half a day. If you're a kid, there's no school. It's just, it's a pretty great day. Everything's pretty much done. Now, I'm speaking from a very particular point of view here, my own memory as a kid. But even as an adult and when I was a parent of young kids, I made it a priority to mostly be done with everything. I really made great effort to not allow Christmas Eve to be a last-minute rush and panic of work and responsibilities. And for the most part, I was successful in that endeavor. So for me anyway, Christmas Eve has always been a pretty great day. The work is done, the planning is done, you kind of ease into it, you kind of relax. And the anticipation of Christmas Day itself reaches its kind of ultimate level. By comparison, Christmas Day has always been a little anticlimactic for me. And there again, you always kind of have to define what you're talking about. Well, is this these childhood memories you're talking about, or young adult, or parent of young kids, or present day? I guess it changes over time. But generally speaking, the common thread through all of this is that the anticipation is a little bit more fun than the actual event itself. It has a quality to it. I didn't send out any cards this year. That's kind of an old person thing to do. Although I do have a niece and a nephew, and then another friend who's 30-ish, so younger friends and relatives. And I got Christmas cards from them. So maybe that's a new thing now. Maybe is that trending? Is that a millennial thing now, or a Gen? What Gen are we? I get my gens mixed up. Gen Z. Yeah, these are definitely millennial friends and relatives, and I got a couple cards from them. So maybe that's a new trend. I don't know. The other cards I got were from older siblings. And I occasionally will send out cards. Every few years I'll make the effort. This year I didn't. I made sure to communicate with the people closest to me, the loved ones, and then some friends I've made over the years that, maybe we're not close, but I want to keep in touch. The kind of friend that you touch base with every, I don't know, couple of months or something like that. So I made sure to reach out to them just with a little, text or email. Of course, the two people closest to me in my life are my two kids, both grown. And I have to admit, I kind of struggle every year. Well, maybe struggle's the wrong word. But I do fret. I put a lot of thought into their gifts every year. And every year I feel stumped. What should I do? This year I decided to get them each a book and a subscription. And this is something I'll often do. I'll go with the same theme for each of them. And this year, a couple of books that I spent quite a lot of time researching, finding just sort of the right title for each of them. And then along with that, a magazine subscription. Because I just thought, I don't know, kind of an old-fashioned, cool thing to do. Something that's not on a screen. I love picking up a magazine occasionally. I joked about it recently. My sister, my older sister by 12, 13 years, something like that, my senior. I was kind of teasing her a little bit because she sent me an article that she thought I'd be interested in. We were talking on the phone one day, and she said, I came across this article I thought you'd like. It was about universal basic income. It was a topic that she wasn't that familiar with and that I had introduced her to a few years ago. And she said, I've been seeing more about this, and this article's pretty good. I'll send it to you. And I thought she meant she would text it or send it on Messenger or maybe email. But no, she put it in the mail. Now, my mother used to do that back in the day. When I moved away from home, was out on my own, she found something she thought I might be interested in. She'd clip the article and send it to me. And that was a very sweet and thoughtful thing to do. But in our day and age, with electronic communications, I found it really quaint and kind of funny that my older sister would clip an article and put it in the mail. Well, she didn't clip the article. She sent the whole magazine. A magazine I hadn't heard of called Sun Magazine. And, I don't remember the last time I held a magazine in my hand, actually. It's been so long. And it was so pleasant. I mean, what a wonderful experience it was. And the article itself was kind of interesting, actually a little bit infuriating, but I won't get into that. But the magazine itself was really very good. Interesting pieces, some poetry in there, a couple of essays and articles, and zero advertising. I'd never heard of this, called The Sun. It was fantastic. So I think that kind of inspired me. You know what? That's not a bad idea. Kind of nice to get a magazine in the mail. Turn off the phone, the tablet, whatever the device, the laptop. Turn off the device for a minute. And then, you walk into a room and there it is sitting on the table. I forgot. Oh, yeah, there it is. Maybe without a lot of thought, you just pick it up and start thumbing through it. What a nice thing. So this was my thought. This was my thought for my kids for Christmas this year. I don't know. I don't know if they'll appreciate it or they'll understand what I was going after. I debated whether or not to sort of explain their gifts to them. That's probably not a good idea. If you have to explain a gift to someone. Well, this was my thinking behind this gift. I don't know. I'm debating. You tell me. Is that a good idea? Should I have that conversation? Well, here's what I was thinking. This is why I bought you this gift. There is a little bit of an overbearing parent vibe going on. Well, this would be good for you. And I have to confess, yeah, I thought it would be good for them to put down their devices occasionally and pick up a magazine. It's an enriching experience. Here again, going back to when I was a kid, I guess this is the day for that. It's in the air, right? Childhood memories are closer on Christmas Eve. But this just reminds me that when I was a kid, oh my goodness, I was so excited to get the Weekly Reader. Do you remember that? Is that still around? Yeah, the Weekly Reader was a magazine for kids. And I would get that thing in the mail, and it was the most exciting day of the week. And at my particular level, I found it to be relatively sophisticated. I didn't feel like it was beneath me. It wasn't like a little kid thing. I thought it was just genuinely cool. And I devoured that every week, the Weekly Reader. Yeah. Maybe I'll buy myself a subscription of something. So my gift giving is taken care of, I think, for the year. My gift giving and my letter writing and my card sending. Like many of us, I'll be spending Christmas Eve and Christmas Day alone in my apartment. So think about those folks. Now, I'm fine with it. As I often say, I just consider myself very lucky because it kind of suits me. I don't want in any way to dismiss or diminish those out there who are genuinely feeling kind of lonely or depressed. Yeah, it's hard for some people. It's really hard. I'm just lucky. I'm kind of okay with it. I imagine tonight and throughout the day tomorrow, I'll have a call or two and some texting, some messaging with folks. I'll make a little effort here as well. I think I'm going to make a big pot of chili. I'm not a cook by any stretch. I'm kind of a lousy cook. I don't prepare interesting meals for myself. But I did recently get a recipe as a gift. In fact, they gave me not only the recipe, but some of the ingredients. Not quite all, which I found kind of an odd gift. Okay. All right. They're going to make me work a little bit for this. So they gave me the chili recipe and some of the ingredients, and then I had to go out and buy the rest of the ingredients, which I did the other day. And so yeah, I think I'm going to make a big old pot of chili today. For me, that's festive. That's special for me to actually get in the kitchen and follow a recipe and prepare something. Yeah, that's a big deal. There's the old Christmas music to play. There's movies to watch. I'll entertain myself. I'll do all right. I've already watched that PBS special we talked about last week or a couple weeks ago, I forget. All is Calm, the Christmas Truce of 1914. Tells the story of Allied troops and German troops calling their own little truce on this day, Christmas Eve, and throughout Christmas Day of 1914. It's become a story that's more well-known now, but still many haven't heard of it. I posted a little story about it on the Charles Purcell Facebook page today, if you want to take a look. The Christmas Truce. Yeah, they put down their guns. They got together in what they called no man's land between the two lines. They're just right there on the front, dug in their trenches, and they had the good sense to figure, well, what the hell, it's Christmas. They walked into no man's land and put down their weapons, and they partied for a day. They sang songs, and they exchanged gifts, and they told each other stories, and they played football. It's a great story, and it's true. It's a true story. Of course, they caught hell for it later. The commanders didn't think much of it when they found out. But it's a pretty beautiful story. And All Is Calm is a film production of the stage musical. And that's the one presented by PBS. You know what? I'll share that again, too, so it's easy to find for you. There's also a film version, if you want to check that out, called Joyeux Noël. Came out, I'm not sure, that's several years ago. Yeah, it's a wonderful story. And if you're looking for a little Christmas entertainment, yeah, look up Joyeux Noël or All is Calm. So I'm hoping you're in a good place. Obviously, it's been a really rough year for everybody, for a lot of people. I have one friend. One of the guys I talk about pretty frequently. The contrarian. He just has to be different all the time. He's one of my conservative friends that I've kept. After purging most of them, I just couldn't take it anymore. But this guy's kind of special. He was a friend, and he's smart and interesting, and I admire him in many ways. But he's also this sort of conservative monster. Well, he posted recently this exuberant little essay about what a great year it's been for him. It's been the best year of my life. And he ticks off all the accomplishments he's had. And it's quite a list. It's like projects he's done and friends he's made and people he's influenced and money he's accumulated, and just went on about how it's just been the greatest year ever. I don't know. What do you think of that? Is that a good thing? I mean, I guess there are a couple different ways you could read this. Well, good for him, and it's inspiring for others, and I'm glad he's doing well. That might have been my thought, except I know him too well. I know that his prime motivation, his reason for living, the thing he wants to communicate with every message, is that I'm right and you're wrong. Maybe that's why I like him so much. We share this quality. But I couldn't help but read into his message of optimism and joy, this underlying, more powerful message that just wants to stick it to you. Because I know this guy, and he's an anti-vaxxer and an anti-masker, and he's conservative, and he's all these horrible things. And so the very fact that all of us lefties, he calls us his lefty besties. Well, of course, all of us, en masse, have agreed that it's been the worst year ever, and life is hard, and people are struggling, and there are no jobs, and politicians are heartless. 2020 is defined in these tragic terms. So my friend is having none of that. No, that's a lefty trap. So his exuberant post about how great life is, it definitely reads to me like a poke in the eye. It's like a Christmas letter on steroids. The Christmas letter. The annual letter that tells you all the family news. Well, young Johnny has taken up dance. He sure is graceful for an 8-year-old. Little Susan is in the middle of her first year of high school, and she's already the vice president of her Future Farmers of America program. I'm still working down at the bank, been promoted to loan manager, second in charge of the department, and Keith has taken up macrame. The letters. But this was so much more than that. This was almost a treatise. I'm a winner. I'm an alpha male. I'm successful in my career. And anybody whining about this little virus or social unrest, you can all just stick it in your ear, lefties. Yeah, I've never seen a more toxic, positive post in my life than this thing. Just not at all in the spirit of the season. And this is the thing that's so fascinating about this guy, though, is that you can never quite be positive. There's always a little mystery. Is he being passive-aggressive? Is he being aggressive? Is he trying to inspire? Or is he trying to insult? I honestly can't quite read him. It's what makes him so interesting. It's why I keep him as a friend, and why I share some of this very complicated relationship I have with him. One thing for sure that's not in the post at all is any spirit of giving, of sharing, of service to others. I think of this friend, and I think about that first scene in A Christmas Carol, and how he must just be cheering for Scrooge when the men of charity are trying to solicit a contribution from the old guy. Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? I imagine he just loves the first scene of the movie. Oh, that reminds me. Here, let me find this thing. I saved this post from Pew Research recently. Yeah, this came out around Thanksgiving. Pew Research published some answers from one of their surveys about the meaning of life. I'll just read the first part of this here so you know what I'm talking about. What keeps us going? This is actually, this is from a couple years ago. I didn't realize that. All right. In September 2017, we asked thousands of Americans where they find meaning in life. Their responses were rich, thoughtful, and varied, and we have selected 100 to share with you in no particular order. We encourage you to explore the reflections of Americans from many walks of life. Some are hopeful, others bleak, some funny, and others tragic. But each one tells a part of the story of the American experience, a small part of our collective hopes, dreams, triumphs, and tragedies. So that was their question. Where do you find meaning in life? An open-ended question, not typical of a Pew Research kind of survey question. And like they say here, they give 100 responses, and I found them surprising, disappointing, a bit bland. I would love to have been inspired by these, but I found myself mostly disappointed. It's just the kind of things you'd expect. Oh, I get great joy from my family and loved ones. Oh, good, that's nice. But of course, 34% of respondents brought up children or grandchildren. That's where they find meaning. About an equal number of Americans mentioned job or career. That's where they find their meaning. They like their job. It's fun. About 23% answered having to do with money. What gives me meaning? Well, having enough money to get the things I need or want. Let's see here. Going down the list, 19% mentioned friends and relationships. About an equal amount mentioned romantic relationships, a partner or spouse. That's what gives them meaning. The things that give... what gives you meaning? What do you look for? 19% mentioned hobbies or activities, things they enjoy. Oh, here's an interesting note. Atheists were the most likely to say they find meaning in creativity. That's an interesting little side note there. Listen to this breakdown here. Americans brought up a wide variety of activities. 19% mentioned hobbies or activities in some form, and 4% specifically mentioned creative activities. Only 4%. See, you guys, this is why I feel so alone in the world. I gotta confess. It's why I feel like an alien sometimes. 4% mentioned creative activities. Only 4%. And atheists were the most likely to say they found meaning in creativity. I find this fascinating and revealing. 13% of Americans specifically mentioned finding meaning in enjoying where they live. Especially for white folks. Black folks and Hispanics was about half to a third of that number. 16% mentioned the good health of themselves or loved ones. Good health. What gives you meaning on this Christmas Eve? What a nice question. When you get together with family and friends, why don't you ask them that question tonight? 11% of Americans brought up learning or education. The topic was most frequently mentioned by those under the age of 30. So, generally speaking, Americans don't really care about engaging in creative activities, don't really care about learning anything new, especially once you're past 30. But even under 30, only 11%. What country do I live in? Why do I live in this country? How did I wind up here? I don't understand these people. But now I get to this, and this is really why I brought it up. In this season of giving, in this spirit of charity, of selflessness that we're all supposed to share, a quality that we're all supposed to have. And when we think of ourselves in the best light, we think this is what defines us. This is what really defines Americans. We're such unselfish giving people. Pew Research survey, what is it that provides meaning in your life? A whopping 7% of Americans answered helping others. 7% mentioned helping others in some way. Part of this group included the 5% of Americans that specifically mentioned wanting to make a difference or make the world a better place. Let me repeat that. 5% of Americans specifically mentioned that wanting to make a difference or make the world a better place gives their life meaning. I can't imagine any other answer. Why in the world are we here if not to make a difference? If not to make the world a better place? What could possibly be higher on the list of things that give meaning to life? I can't even begin to imagine. This is the only answer that makes sense to me. The only one. And I share it with 5% of my fellow Americans. I don't understand this place at all. Now, I'm not saying I'm any good at it. I don't know how much I've accomplished in my life. Probably not much, but I believe it. And I get up every day and I try. I'm quite sure I've failed miserably, especially compared to those who've done it really well. But it's Christmas Eve. It's the season of giving and sharing and goodwill to all. God bless us, everyone. Well, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Except Merry damn Christmas. And yeah, if you're getting together with people or, over dinner or on your Zoom call, this would be a good conversation starter. Pew Research asked Americans what gives meaning to your life. How would you answer that? Well, however you're spending your Christmas Eve and your Christmas Day, whether or not you celebrate the holiday at all, I hope you're well, and I hope you're not lonely, and I hope you find meaning and fulfillment. However you find it, I'm not gonna judge you. And if you're someone who does celebrate this season, I wish you the very best. And if you're a crank and a Scrooge and a cynic, I wish you the very best. All right. Go be merry. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.